Arr, Pirate fans, it's time to find out the state of the ship of your defending champions for the 2022 season with your hosts, Johnny Wilbur and Jake Ignaszewski. And now, brought to you by Resonate, it's the state of the ship.
Welcome back into the state of the ship. Thanks to Resonate, Johnny Wilbur and Jake Ignaszewski and the Massachusetts Pirates state of the ship. Jake, we're teeter-tottering a little bit here as we sit here and record the podcast on this Wednesday night. Celtics are currently winning 30-17. And I'll tell you what, you were on the road trip. What happened, first of all, in Duke City the other day? You saw your first deuce, but not for the team that you wanted to. Go through what happened as our team insider over there, Jake Ignaszewski.
So it was these last three games have been pretty crazy. You know, we've talked about the Pirates being able to come up super clutch in the final seconds with the help of Mike Glass, but they had a new guy under center in Tasleem Wilson who came on to the scene just a few days before they played Duke City, played really well. We'll talk a little bit about that more later in the episode. But, you know, as you mentioned, the Pirates held a 43-35 lead with 20 seconds remaining. And, you know, with arena football, you never know what's going to happen until those 3 zeros hit.
That's not just like a couple of points, a field goal here. You feel pretty secure in the final minute, and then everything goes awry.
And, you know, we saw Ramon Atkins, the Duke City quarterback, engineer a 10-point final drive, which ultimately ended up scoring a 2-yard run with 2 seconds left. And, you know, everybody on the team, including myself, was just time clock watching, hoping and praying, you know, the zeros would hit and, you know, we'd be able to get the win. But then we also ultimately saw kicker Kevin Gosling, as you mentioned, hit a deuce. And, you know, it was quite a very impressive kick. And then, you know, ultimately the Pirates had one final chance with their kicker and Josh Gable returning, tried to attempt a 59-yard field goal. Field goal ended up getting blocked. And then ultimately Martez Carter ended up picking up the ball. Then it was stripped for a fumble. And then the fumble was recovered by Duke City linebacker Byron Cooper, who returned it for 8 yards. And ultimately Duke City won 51-43. And a crushing loss for this Pirates team, who over the last 3 weeks has just really struggled with being able to finish off games.
And you said that right off the bat because they're playing very well leading up into that final minute. It's not even like it's the final fourth quarter that they're losing the fourth quarter. They're playing well, but they're losing their head and they're losing their cool in the fourth quarter. And penalties have really hurt. I mean, we looked 2 weeks ago at home. We thought the game was over, and here we went through like 2 reviews and another flag that continued on. And geez, I thought I was going to have to unpack everything and call everybody back up to the announcers table because the game was continuing on. It seems like these minutes have turned into quarters themselves. What do the Pirates need to do? What do you think they need to do in order to right the ship and straighten things out? Because if we don't start to right the ship pretty soon, this ship is about to, find out which way it's going to pull into the harbor, whether we're going to dock for the rest of the season or, try to go full sail out into the playoffs.
One word that Coach Kaiser has mentioned time and time again, especially talking about the penalties, is having discipline. And that's something that the Pirates really need to hone in on, especially going into that second half, because you can't say that the defense didn't do their job in the second half. We saw Cheatham Norrells catch 2 very clutch interceptions. They had some very good plays in that second half. Also being able to slow down Dello Davis, only 35 yards, one of the best wide receivers in the league overall. And that I think is the number one thing. And then keeping the gas pedal on during that second half. And something that Coach Kaiser mentioned, you can ultimately pile up a lead like the Pirates were able to do in that first half against Duke City, but it's all about how you finish. And that's just something that time and time again, the Pirates have struggled with. And, especially with, it's not only on defense, it's also on offense as well. You could also say that they really need to minimize the mistakes on both ends of the football and play much smarter and not get too much in their head thinking that, we see that we got a 10-point lead, we got 27 seconds left. Maybe we can, make a few mistakes here and there. It won't really matter. But at the end of the day, in arena football, every single play matters. That's
for sure. And you see Arian Maxey Penton led the Pirates with 7 tackles, and defensive back Cheatham Norrells. I'm really pretty impressed with this guy. He's got 2 interceptions this last game, 4 stops, broke up a pass. I mean, he's really good. But when you only have really 2 standouts on defense from a team who led the defense last year into the IFL Bowl, you gotta find out where we can improve and keep them off the board late in the game. They got great defense and great front line for 3 quarters, but unable to hold them out. Is it that they're getting tired? Are they not conditioned? Why are they, allowing points in the final quarter? Or is it that the offense is just, too many penalties, not allowing, and giving the ball back too much?
I think what it is it's ultimately the penalties on both ends. We saw them. We saw them have 13 penalties for 104 yards. And, even times when the defense would hold the Duke City offense, get them to 3rd down or even 4th down, there would be those costly penalties that would allow the offense to extend the drive. And you just can't do that when you're trying to win the game, especially in the second half when every single second matters.
For sure. You saw Meatball get a couple of carries this week, and I finally got his first touchdown of the season, Marquez Carter. And is that something you think that we're going to see a little bit more of? You're at practice. Are you seeing Marquez getting more touches? Is maybe, obviously Dedrick Thomas had a great game behind, Taz Wilson. But, with 38 yards and 2 scores on 8 carries. That's a pretty good running back game considering we had been struggling in that category.
Right. It's been really nice to see the 1-2 punch between Carter and Thomas. And, I think we'll see Carter get a lot more touches over the next few weeks or so. I think they'll really balance both Thomas and Carter. But something that Coach Stout really mentioned leading up to this week, because I said to him, looking at Green Bay's defense, looking at this next week, they have the 5th best passing defense in terms of the statistics. And I asked him if that really changes the game plan. He said, looking at it right now, I believe our offense is around 50-50, 60-40. You could say we're more of a passing offense than a running offense, but we're starting to get close to that 50-50 range of being able to pass once, run again. And it's been really nice to see this running game really develop.
Just got a email came across my screen here, Jake, that the Massachusetts Pirates just signed defensive back DeBone Renfro. Do we know anything about that yet? Have you heard about that?
So, this actually came out this past week. Renfro is a guy who most recently signed a contract with the Montreal Alouettes of the Canadian Football League. Also spent 2021 with the Edmonton Elks on their practice squad of the CFL. Also was an undrafted free agent with the Seattle Seahawks of the NFL in 2020 and played 3 seasons at Texas A&M. Very, very good player.
I got to tell our listeners that I just threw you right on the spot there. You weren't expecting that question, and the email just kind of flashed up on my screen that just happened. So good job there. You knew what you were talking about.
Luckily, I had to do some of that research this morning, but it was also nice to see some of the newer players this past week really make an impact. We spoke about Taz Wilson, but one other guy who came onto the scene for the Pirates, just a few days before they played on Saturday against the Gladiators is Wilson Bell, a guy who previously was signed with the Pirates in 2020, but obviously season ultimately wasn't played due to the pandemic. Bell's a guy who has experience with the Buffalo Bills, also has multiple years of experience in the AFL and the NAL. So, he did a really good job of being able to block for those running backs and also not allowing those defensemen up front to get to Taz Wilson. And, one special fact that I think our listeners would really like is, if you want to question if Bell is good or not, he's a guy who helped pave the way for running back Dalvin Cook to rush for the single season record for Florida State University. So he's a guy who has some great experience being able to open up those holes for some really good running backs.
Well, we look forward to every time we see a new guy out on the field. The Phoenix field is blue with envy, shall we say, for new players. And I think that it's just something that the Pirates have been, dealing with all season long. Besides injuries, have really plagued the ship. We've had to, improvise and throw guys out there without a lot of practice, like Taz this week, and who really played a great game and shined. Watching, on the live stream and from here, it looked like he. I don't want to say seamlessly made the transition, but he fit in pretty well. Now, moving forward, Mike Glass still not up to par so far right now. We're not sure where he stands for the weekend. Do you have any idea who you think is going to be behind the center this weekend on Saturday night when the Green Bay Blizzard come into town?
I think it's going to be the same thing as it's been over the last few weeks. It's going to be a game time decision. I know that's not what fans want to hear, but I think it's either going to be in between Taz Wilson or Mike Glass. We saw the Pirates place Alejandro Benefield, their starter, on the short-term IR last week. So we could see Benefield more towards after the bye week, but I think it's in between Taz Wilson and Mike Glass. And, for some of the fans who are wondering why Mike Glass did not start for the Pirates on Saturday against Duke City after he miraculously was able to help them come back over the last two games before they played the Gladiators, it's unfortunately due to he had some discomfort right before the game. And so the Pirates wanted to be safe with a young guy like Mike and a very promising quarterback like Mike Glass, and had to make an emergency signing for Taz Wilson. And, it was really interesting talking with Taz about how he was able to, learn the playbook in 1 or 2 days, be able to meet some of the, his new teammates, and actually how this all came together is he used to actually play with Coach Kaiser when Kaiser coached in Bismarck in 2019. And Taz actually has a lot of experience in arena football, specifically in the IFL with, the Sioux Falls Storm, Bismarck Bucks, as well as the Tucson Sugar Skulls in multiple different years. And, he really shined, especially with knowing limited of the playbook. He did tell me he knew 75% of it, but you can't really expect a guy to learn an entire offensive playbook in 1 or 2 days. But one thing I did want to mention for fans is that Mike Glass did go on the Duke City trip and was a really big part, Taz mentioned, in being able to help him learn this offense and get comfortable with it before Saturday's game.
Yeah, and you could see on the live feed how the running backs and the wide receivers were helping out in the huddle and really working there. Did you think that maybe the coach's missed penalty in the first had anything to do now not being able to be on the field? Because that can make a difference sometimes, even when coaching staff's getting penalized.
Yeah, that definitely can make a difference. And, I don't know how much of a difference is specifically made. Luckily, offensive coordinator Coach Mark Stout was able to call the offensive plays on the field. As you mentioned, Coach Kaiser had to ultimately sit up on one of the bench ledges, as I was as well. But it definitely, I think it played a little bit of a part of him being able to communicate with his defense as effectively as he would like to. But what's good is that I think it would have been very detrimental if offensive coordinator Coach Mark Stout wasn't able to help Taz Wilson as well as the other wide receivers be able to understand what the play was, especially with Taz's limited experience with the offense. And so, we did see a few delay of games due to the wide receivers running over with Taz to get the calls and to relay them. And, I talked to Coach Mark Stout about that at practice yesterday on how they're really working through that this next week. They actually did, through offense and defense drills, actually had a time clock to make sure that they were able to, in real time, act like it was a game. So they're really obviously hoping that isn't an issue this week. And, luckily, if Taz is under center, he'll have a full week to prepare and get to know his wide receivers a little bit more.
Yeah, that's always, when you can get that playing time just to get to know and get the timing, especially in the IFL with the running start up to the line and getting all that timing going, it really can be tough. Now, moving forward, big game on tap for Saturday night with Green Bay.
Very big game. Looking at the record, it won't tell you exactly the full story of how good this team is. 5-7 And it's something where with Green Bay, when you look at how this game ended the last time that they played them in week 6, you got to feel a little bit nervous, especially with how the Pirates haven't been doing a good job of finishing games, because they did not do that in Green Bay last week, in their last matchup. And Jack Sheehan is a very good quarterback, dual threat quarterback who was able to total for 5 touchdowns in the last matchup against the Pirates, 2 passing, 3 rushing. And I sort of compared him a tiny bit to Giroux Campbell of the Bucks, and asked Coach Kaiser if they have a similar game plan of, controlling the gaps. That's sort of what he said 2 weeks ago. And he mentioned that, obviously Sheehan is a little bit more of an accurate passer. So that's obviously something that they're keeping in the back of their mind. But team just needs to do a much better job in this game of controlling those gaps and not allowing, the quarterback to be able to scramble around and extend the play.
Yeah, and without that, and they have to close it out. They have to play better discipline, and they need to get a big victory at home. And I think the home field cooking and home field advantage needs to come into a big play. So we need the Pirates fans to come out in droves this weekend. It's going to be a great night to come out to a game on Saturday, kind of an overcast day. Probably, maybe you're at a barbecue during the day. Come on out and see a Pirates game Saturday night, because they need you. I mean, as it showed in the last home game, the 9th man makes a big difference.
Very big difference. It was really nice, hearing the crowd echo, and especially, when you, John, were saying heave-o or make some noise, you really heard the noise. And, if you have not yet, make sure to get your tickets, masspiratsfootball.com/tickets, or on Ticketmaster. It's going to be youth sports night. So, there's going to be a lot of exciting young fans there. And, there's only 2 more home games left.
The kids always make a lot of noise.
A lot of noise. But, only 2 more home games left. So you definitely got to take advantage of it.
That's it. We can't wait for this Saturday night against the Green Bay Blizzard. And I'll be there. Jake Ignaszewski will be there. You'll be ready to go. And I'll see you. You'll be joining us this Saturday morning. You won't see me, though. I got to go out and I got to MC Metro West Fest out in Framingham somewhere. Yeah. So we'll bring some represent the Pirates out there as well. We'll go and do that. Jake, you're doing a great job, buddy.
Appreciate it, John, as always. And if you have not yet, make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms, Massachusetts Pirates, as well as subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on all of them. And also subscribe on YouTube. We post the video version over there. But as always, greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Arr.